Well, welcome to the Beyond Cinema studio up here at Sundance, presented by Celebs.com. David France, How to Survive a Plague. Firstly, congratulations on the Oscar nomination.
Thank you, thank you.
Just tell me, I mean, this is one of those kind of curious things. It's everyone kind of wants to know that feeling. Where were you, and who told you?
Well, I was on my couch in my bathrobe,
Yeah.
watching it live stream on the computer, which is the way I was told that I was going to get the information.
Yeah.
And then my producer, Howard Gertler, called me and said, they posted all the results. They posted them, like, so everybody knew, but me. And then, so I wouldn't let him tell me right away whether or not we were on, because I was trying to hook in I was trying to combine two phone calls so that the
Right.
person who stars in the film, Peter Staley, could hear it as well.
Right.
That went on for many minutes. And finally I said, just tell me so I can tell him. So
That's a perfect intro for Peter. I mean, he was like a 20-something-year-old kid at the time this all took place.
Right.
What is he? How long ago did you meet him, and how much does he mean to you now, having gone through this experience with him?
Well, I knew Peter and a number of these other folks who were in the film back then when they were doing what they were doing.
Okay.
And in fact, I'm in the film kind of in the background. Before making this film, I was a print journalist, so I was reporting on what they were doing.
Yeah.
And but I didn't know anybody well. I knew what they did, and I knew how to reach them for a quote. But it's only since the film has come out that I've become friendly with Peter. He came with me last year to Sundance, and we did the circuit around the country and then around the globe together this past year. So he's been having just the time of his life.
I mean, you mentioned this kind of time in New York. It was a very specific moment when the kind of AIDS and HIV epidemic was really rife. And this group, ACT UP, I mean, mid-'80s, early '90s, it's hard to believe that it was that long ago, 25 years.
Right.
Does it feel, for you, having gone through all this archival footage and everything, does it feel for you to be kind of ancient history, given how far we've come, or does it feel like yesterday?
It's both, really, and that's a weird feeling because it's my history, and so when did my yesterday become ancient history? And that's what becomes confusing and a little disorienting. But what I learned is like nobody under the age of 40 has had any idea of this chapter, this incredible chapter in American history.
Yeah.
And that is proof that it's ancient history.
Yeah. And does it feel like, I mean, it must be also a good thing that it's ancient history, because we've come such a long way,
Right.
and people are living with the illness, or with the at least with the antibodies and the bodies of
Right.
HIV now.
Absolutely.
And it's no longer this death sentence it once was.
And people have come up to me and to Peter after screenings and said, I'm jealous. I didn't live through that time. And what they mean is they're jealous that they hadn't partaken in this incredible civil rights movement that brought about these revolutionary changes, really, that really established the first seeds of the contemporary gay and lesbian movement. And it all grew out of that time, and it was a thrilling time, but it was a time where everybody was dying, and
Yeah.
it's certainly not a time that you'd really truly wish to go back to.
Well, yeah, I mean, Larry Kramer and all these guys who kind of say, well, what do we do now? We've won
Yeah.
this battle, this
Yeah.
kind of major battle. What are we meant to do the next day?
Yeah.
The thing is as well, I mean, you being a print journalist, contributing editor to New York magazine, when did this become, because this is your first directorial, feature effort in docs, when did this become something that was more than just a written word on a page story for you that had to be told in this way?
I was thinking of writing it, and I'm working on a writing project still, but when I went back to look at that old footage that was shot by activists and artists and people with AIDS and the family of people with AIDS, and it was such a remarkable kind of piece of ephemera from that time that allowed you to know what it looked like and smelled like and sounded like, and I thought that's part of the story, that those cameras were everywhere, and the activists took them up. It was the early days of video cameras,
Yeah.
They were only introduced in 1982, again, probably ancient history to most people.
Yeah.
But by 1987, when the film opens up, the activists were using them as tools of their activism, and they give this incredible view behind the curtain of what was going on then. So I thought it's got to be a film.
So your first time up at bat with a feature, first time obviously getting an Oscar nomination. Does this mean you're hooked? Is this your media? Is this your medium from now on? Are you now already in the throes of doing your next doc or feature narrative?
Well, I would never leave books and journalism, not entirely, but yeah, I'm hooked. I'm totally hooked, and I was hooked before any awards came. It was the process of it was so incredible, and the power of a documentary, the power of a film, is unique in its ability to reach people and create and turn kind of cultural dialogues. And I think we've seen that over the last year. AIDS has become an issue again. AIDS has become an issue not just for celebrating what happened back then and the people who were so heroic that they were able to manage to find these drugs that made it possible to survive, but also what's happening today and how do you get those drugs to people. And all of that conversation it is, I believe, in part fueled by How to Survive a Plague and the attention that the film has been getting.
Right, even though it's a New York story and it seems like there's a New York solution to it
Right.
During this film, the fact is that millions of people are still dying every year.
Yeah, unfortunately, the majority of people with HIV still die in the same way that Americans were dying way
Yeah.
back then. And the pills only make it possible to survive. They don't guarantee survival, and they don't guarantee that people get access to them. And there's this movement now on college campuses that attached to our rollout of the film, and they started appearing in every city that we appeared in, called the Student Global AIDS Campaign. And they are college kids who are engaged in trying to bring attention to the need for drug access in Africa and the rest of the world.
Well, congratulations on the success of the film in opening up that dialogue or furthering that dialogue, and on the success you've had personally with it.
Thank
It's
you.
really a thrill.
Thanks. It
Cheers.
is a thrill. Thanks.